Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at writing patterns in reading. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. So we're going to focus on two things here. First, we're going to define exactly what a writing pattern is, which probably is self-explanatory. And then we're going to go through several types of writing patterns with examples. So, when we're talking about writing patterns, we're talking about ways to organize information when presenting them in the format of text. So, there are about 5 different ways that you can do this. You can list, you can provide a sequence, definition, cause and effect, and compare and contrast. And these are the ways that writing is organized, of course, within the context of communicating with our readers. So, this is a very, very standard way of presenting this information. All right. So with list pattern, what we're doing here is the author is sharing a group of items. These are our supporting details, if you will, in a way in which the order does not matter. So it doesn't matter what order the details are presented in. Rather, what matters is that they're just listed. It's like, a shopping list. The order does not matter. So of course there are some phrases that we can be aware of that can give us a hint, such as also, to, another, moreover, beside, and the, etc. And there are also different ways that we can set aside like bullets, like ABC, using bullets or asterisks, however we want to set it up. And so again, remember that the primary motivation behind writing patterns is how we are organizing our supporting details primarily. Because remember, the main idea can be at the beginning, middle, or the end, or it could be implied. And so the writing pattern is focused on how the supporting details are organized. Excuse me. So here we have our first example here. And it starts right here in the text right there. Hope you can see that. So here we go. There are 3 things you need to know about dogs. And the 3 things are listed right here. You can see the order doesn't matter. They're cute, they're friendly, they are loyal. I can put these details in any way I want. Doesn't matter which one comes first. I could put loyal first, I could put cute last, I could put friendly at the end. It doesn't matter. And so the last sentence is, these are some of the reasons you should own a dog. So you can see here that with list, the organization does not matter. Now with sequence, I think this one is kind of giving itself away in that now the order of the items, or you could say of the supporting details, matters. And so some of the phrases you might see is like, first, second, third, now, then, next, finally, however you want to say it, last. Some of the signals, it might be numbers, it might be ABC, because this type of bullet system is indicating some sort of an order, numbers, ABC, whatever. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide. So this one, there are 3 steps to buying a dog. First, decide which kind of dog is best for your environment. Second, consider how much it will cost to buy the dog. Third, find a nearby dealer who can provide the dog. So again, the order matters here. I'm not going to think about the cost until I think about what dog is best for my environment, whether it's an apartment or it's a ranch, whatever. And I'm not going to look for a dealer until I know how much I want to spend and what kind of dog is best for my environment. So with sequence, the supporting details are put in a specific order, and that order enhances your ability to understand what the author is trying to tell you. Next, we have definition. The author describes or explains something. So remember, describing is another way of explaining something. That'll be important when you look at the example. So some common phrases you find with definition pattern is defined as, by this we mean, means, or, in other words, etc. So here's our example. Dogs are defined as one of the many types of pets people can own. So you can see right here in the bold right here, that is kind of our key phrase. And so what we're doing here is we are trying to describe what a dog is within the context of being a pet. And then you can read the rest of this on your own. But the point here is that this is a definition in that we are trying to describe what a dog is like. So we talk about how they're friendlier than other animals. They're also loyal and will not often leave a good master, etc. Now, cause and effect is a little bit trickier. So cause is like, okay, something happens and it leads to something else happening, kind of like dominoes falling down. That's kind of how cause and effect is. And what's tricky is that when authors are writing, sometimes they might put the effect first, then what caused that, or they might put the cause first and then follow it up with the effects. So you got to really be careful and pay attention when you are trying to identify a cause and effect pattern as a particular writing pattern. So down here in this little two columns right here, we have our causes and effects, the type of terms that are used. So the reason, and then the term that might be used is thus. The cause or causes, and the result is as a consequence, etc. So because, and then the effect on that account or whatever, these are phrases you might see. But it's better to look at this within the context of an example. Okay, dogs make good pets. Since they are friendly, dogs cause people, oh, there's a little typo there. Cause people to be happy, excuse me. All right, since they are friendly, dogs cause people to be happy. So in other words, since is like the cause and the effect is they're happy. So because dogs are friendly, it causes people to be happy. That's what's happening there. In addition, because dogs love being around humans, the consequence is people often begin to love dogs. So because that's the cause, the consequence, that's the effect. Because dogs love being around humans, the consequence of this or the effect of this is people often begin to love dogs. That's what's happening there. So in these two sentences, we have a clear cause and effect in each one. So here are some questions. These are some special tips for the cause and effect writing pattern because it's a little bit trickier. If you want to determine the cause and the effect, consider the following question. What causes the effect? Of course, this is assuming you know what the effect is. Why does the effect happen? Again, assuming you can identify the effect. What is the reason for the effect? Again, that's going to help you to identify the cause. How can the effect be explained? Okay, that's again the cause of it. And what does the cause lead to? Again, that's another way to try to figure out what the cause is. So with these tips, these are questions you can ask to help you to determine what is the cause and what is the effect. Generally, it's easier to figure out what the effect is because it's normally something that happens, but sometimes the cause is a little bit trickier trying to figure out which one happened first in some situations. All right, compare and contrast. In this particular writing pattern, we are identifying similarities, differences, and or both. And when we are looking at two or more things, generally you're comparing and contrasting two things at once. It gets much more complicated when you move beyond that. And so some of the phrases that are associated, with comparison are similarly, likewise, both, same, like. That's how things are the same. In contrast, you're going to see in contrast, however, as opposed to, whereas. These are contrasting. And if you remember back when we talked about context clues, this is kind of a hint right here. Now, the bold is when we're talking about comparison, and the underline is when we're talking about contrast here. So dogs are similar to cats. That means they're about the same. Both, that means they're a similarity again, have 4 legs and a tail. However, this is contrasting. Dogs and cats are different in their behavior. Dogs are much friendlier than cats are with people. So I could probably make this a comparison term right here. All right, in terms of dogs are friendlier. Next one, last sentence. Though they are different, so though, that means, again, contrast. Both dogs, now is similar, dogs and cats make good pets. So you can see here how I'm moving back and forth between comparing and contrasting. And this is very challenging for students. In many situations, they really struggle with being able to compare and contrast and to have the language flow smoothly when they're writing. So one last thing before I wrap this up, it's also possible that you can have different writing patterns kind of happening at the same time. So you could be trying to define something by comparing and contrasting it to something. So these are not clean, clear categories when you are dealing with, sophisticated writers. So you have to keep that in mind as well. However, by having these basic tools, it allows you to be able to look at a type of writing and to make decisions faster about what the author is trying to do. Where you have some sort of a list that you can choose from and try to understand how this writer is trying to communicate. So in this particular video, to wrap this up, we talked about different writing patterns, and we define a writing pattern essentially as how the author organizes the information they want to share, specifically the supporting details that they want to share within a paragraph. And of course, keep in mind your unit of analysis, whether it's a paragraph, a paper, a chapter, or a whole book, whatever it might be. And then we also looked at different types of writing patterns. We looked at lists, sequence, definition, cause and effect, compare and contrast, among others. So again, I want to thank you so much for listening. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. You take care.